Not yet,
All
but I
right.
do see it.
Trying to figure out why it's doing this now. Any ideas?
Hmm. Let's see.
And you tried hitting the little play slideshow.
Yeah, head on play slideshow and it's bringing it up in this screen here. I don't know
Try
if you
hitting
guys
the.
can see it.
Can you want to try that bottom, that little thing at the bottom of the screen?
There,
Slideshow there.
there we go. I got it now.
Oh, there
You
you go.
got it.
All right.
Do you need to restart the recording?
I lost your volume again, Chip.
I didn't say anything.
Oh,
Do we,
okay.
are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording. So
All right. All
let
right.
me let's try this again.
All right. Let's try this for the second time. Um, Welcome everybody to this month's edition of the Kentucky Monthly Climate Perspective on Drought and Hydrologic Conditions. My name's Chip Zimmer. I'm with the Kentucky Division of Water. And as always, this webinar series is presented by the Kentucky Climate Center at Western Kentucky University in a partnership with National Integrated Drought Information System and in coordination with the Midwest Drought Early Warning System. Production and delivery of this webinar reflects the contributions of many partners committed to serving the needs of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and its people, and that includes the Kentucky Climate Center, the UK Ag Weather Center, and the Kentucky Division of Water. And the next webinar is scheduled for September 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And that picture in the background there, you can see some rain shafts coming down from some scattered storms. This is from the Warren County Mesonet Station on WKU's farm, and you can see the sun setting behind those storms, making for a pretty picture. As always, we just start with the recent conditions, look at impacts, and then switch and looking ahead at the outlooks and finish up with the summary and questions and discussion. Picture up on the top is from the Bath County Mesonet Station, and they had some reports of funnel clouds with one of the storms at that time. And if you look at the far right of the picture, you can see something hanging down there. It sure looks like a funnel cloud, so potentially the Mesonet picked up on that as well. Um, and then that bottom picture is from the Clark County Mesonet Station, and you can see some of the clouds forming there. I know these ended up becoming storms, but also look at how green the grass is. Something you don't see this time of year very often in mid-July. So just a testament to how wet it's been this year. Looking at the past 48 hours, this does not include the rain that is ongoing, but you can see kind of scattered around, especially across the eastern and northern Kentucky. I know Covington actually had like flooded streets and stuff from flash flooding yesterday evening. But you can see that was a heavy hit area, and then just scattered stuff, like I said, mainly northern eastern Kentucky. Um, Zoom out to 7 days. Again, you can see all the kind of scattered amounts. Again, the eastern 2/3 of the state. See almost 4.5 inches in Boyle County, and 3 and 2 inches down there in Cumberland and Clinton County. But notice the Western Kentucky, not nearly the coverage of rain that the eastern part has seen. And if you go out to 14 days, again, you can see the scattered nature of the precipitation. Again, eastern, northern Kentucky getting in on most of it, and a little drier out in the western part of the state. Um, Looking at 30 days, again, just some huge rainfall numbers, and again, scattered. Um, Morgan County, almost 11.5 inches rain in the past 30 days. See some 9 inches down in, I guess that's Breathitt County. but then you see some pockets of lesser amounts there, especially across south central Kentucky, down to Pulaski, McCreary counties, Whitley County. Actually, that's Wayne County, sorry. And then out in western Kentucky, especially out when you get out along the Mississippi there, Ballard County and Fulton County, a little drier. Over the past 60 days, see again, lots of rain everywhere. If you look at West Kentucky, um, much much higher numbers. They were a lot wetter in June out there. Again, you can see some places 15 inches of rain over the past 60 days, and then you still have some dry spots. But just to show how hit or miss some of the rain has been over the past month or two, look at Fayette County. The Fayette County Mesonet Station up by the horse farm. It's at Spindletop Farm in the northern part of the state. 11.5 inches of rain. Southern Fayette County, that gauge is down by the intersection of Man o' War and Nicholasville Road. Only 5.5 inches of rain. So 6 inches of rain over just a few miles. So shows you just how hit or miss these storms are. And if you were to look at the Mesonet right now, or at least before this started, the only gauge in the state that had received precipitation so far was that Fayette County gauge. The southern Fayette County gauge was closing in on 2 inches of rain. And actually, Fayette County, Jessamine County is under a flash flood warning right now. And I'm getting alerts on my phone, so I'm guessing there's a lot of rain up in Georgetown as well as we speak. So just kind of a testament of just how hit or miss this rain has been. So you may miss out on a few. That was the case at my house earlier this month, and the past 3 days we've gotten a ton of rain. So it's just kind of eventually you'll get some, but you might have to wait a little while to get it type thing. And then other places are getting way too much rain and ending up with flash flooding problems. If we zoom out to 90 days, there's been, again, a lot of rain. It's something we've talked about all year. You see places 23, 24 inches of rain over the past 90 days. And then drier places, 9, 10, 11 inch rain. And really, that's probably a pretty close to being average for a 90-day period this time of year. So pretty much everybody's gotten at least the normal amount of precipitation over the past 90 days. And then you have places that are more than doubling that. So it's just been, a very wet year. And so for the and looking at the these maps are the percent of normal, so you can see the place, especially South Central Kentucky, Western Kentucky, a little less than normal over the past 30 days and past 60 days, especially in South Central Kentucky. And then when you look at the 90 days, pretty much everybody's normal to well over normal. So looking at July, the state averaged almost 5 inches of precipitation for the month, which is a little over a half inch above normal, and it puts it as the 45th wettest July on record. And so far for the summer, which would be June and July, the state's averaged a little under 11 inches of precipitation, which is about 2.25 inches above normal. And for the year, the state's averaged 44.5 inches of precipitation, which is getting pretty close to our yearly average. For the state, that's about 48 inches. So we're getting pretty close to what we would see an entire year, and we're only in the beginning of August. So that's pretty impressive, and that's 14.77 inches above normal, and that puts us as the second wettest year on record. Right now, we're trailing behind 1950, which is actually at the end of the year, that would be the third wettest year on record. So we're ahead of 2011 right now, which is the wettest year on record. So that really is putting us on pace for having the wettest year on record, or probably top 5 if the way we're going right now. Temperatures. If you've been outside the past month, you realize it's been hot. The state averaged 80.2 degrees for the month of July, which is 3.8 degrees above normal. And that puts it as the fifth warmest July on record. If you look up at the maps, especially the right two. The top right is the maximum temperatures for the month, and you can see a little above normal, especially over southern and eastern Kentucky, but especially when you get out towards like Paducah and over in southern Illinois, it was pretty close to the normal high temperatures for the month. But if you look at the bottom right, those are your minimum temperatures, and you can see we're anywhere to 3 to 6 inches above normal, and it has a lot to do with how humid it was. When it humid air has lots of water. Water takes a lot of energy to warm up or to cool down. So during the day, it keeps our maximum temperatures down a little bit, um, but it just does not let it cool off at night. So, and that's what we're seeing there. And like I said, it's not the heat, it's humidity. And it was a pretty miserable month to be outside, especially the second half of the month when we had dew points in the mid 70s to the low 80s. Typically, we don't hit 80-degree dew points very often. So, and we had them a lot this summer. So, it's kind of rare and just a testament to just how humid it is. And really, once you get over 70-degree dew points, that's when you really start feeling it. It starts getting pretty uncomfortable outside, and after 75 degrees, it's oppressive. And really 80-degree dew points, you're talking about, sitting in the Amazon rainforest type dew points. So, and I believe I saw dew points up as high as 84 in Western Kentucky this last month. So on one of the mesonet stations. So just really, really, really humid. Paducah set their longest streak for consecutive days with dew points at least 75 degrees, 18 days in a row. And then for 70 degrees and above, they went 49 days, which was also a record. So all the way back in the mid-June, they had days with dew points at least 70 degrees. And you can see that that's the map on the top right, showing the streaks at different mesonet stations. You see a few didn't have very long streaks where they had heavier rain, but you see lots of 30s and 40-day plus streaks going on. And that the heat and humidity really peaked on July 28th, and that's when we had heat indexes go up as high as 120 degrees, that's pretty rare to see. I'm not sure what the record is for the state, but it can't be. I'm sure it's not too far away from that number. And you can see that top left map there showing the heat indexes on July 28th, and see up there in Western Kentucky, 119, 114, just dangerous heat, very dangerous heat. And again, you can see where it was raining up in northern Kentucky and also down in the southeast. And one thing, and this was an article I saw from Chad Lee, who's a professor at the UK College of Agriculture. I'm sure you've heard a lot about corn sweat over the past few weeks and talking about how that was making it humid in the Midwest. And that is not the case. When corn is at peak transpiration, an acre corn will put off anywhere from 4,000 to 8,000 gallons of water, which is a lot. But on an average summer day, if over an acre of land, there is approximately 160,000 gallons of water in the air. And I believe they were looking at a temperature of 86 degrees with a 50% relative humidity for that number. So in the grand scheme of things, the amount of moisture that those corn plants are throwing up into the atmosphere it's just a small amount. So a lot of that is coming from the Gulf of Mexico in general. So the whole talk about corn sweat was making it 80-degree dew points and stuff in the Midwest is not really true. But how it is when somebody gets a buzzword going and everybody kind of jumps on that train. But so switching gears and looking at stream flows, stream flows are pretty good across the state. You can see most of the state right now is at or above normal. There's a couple of exceptions to that, but again, with how wet it's been this year, there's a lot of water in the ground. Base flows are elevated, so it's even if you go a couple weeks without rain, creeks are doing good and holding their own. but again, with the constant scattered storms and stuff, seeing a lot of flash flooding, and it is putting a lot of water, especially into some of the smaller streams and rivers. Looking at soil moisture, for the most part, we are doing good. You can see the top is showing the soil moisture percentiles. Most of the state is at or above normal, a little below normal across the Northeast. I'm not sure if I would actually buy into that or not, but doing good. And at bottom is showing relative to normal, how we're doing, and relative to last month, and you can see most places are down, which is what you typically see in July, as you do have declining soil moisture. But in general, we're at where we're supposed to be, if not higher than where we're supposed to be for soil moisture. And looking at a few of the mesonet stations, the top two are Casey County and Fulton County, which are two of the drier areas. And you see Casey County, that those top two layers, the 2-inch and 4-inch, are getting pretty low. They're down at or below 20%. You're starting to approach wilting point at that point. So the top layer of the soil is getting dry. But if you look up the deeper soil, still a lot of moisture in there. If you look at Fulton County, it's going down as much as well, but still looking at, that scales at the bottom's 28%. So it's still sitting about 31% soil moisture. So there's still a pretty good amount of moisture in that soil. And if you remember, it's been dry the past 30 days, but if you go back 60 days, it was very wet. So the soil is still holding on to that moisture. And then down at the bottom, we have Warren and Carroll County. Soil moisture levels in Warren County are dropping. If you look at Carroll County, they were a little drier at the beginning of July, and you can see that dip, and they've recovered as things have been a little wetter over the past month. Looking at the U.S. Drought Monitor, we do have just introduced today a little bit of D0 across south to central Kentucky. Nothing too concerning at this moment. With the hit or miss nature of the storms, that's an area that's just been missed. But with how much rain we've gotten this year, any type of widespread drought's probably not likely. And you can see across the southeast, lots of little pockets of D0 across the southeast, and they're in the same boat as we have been with the hit or miss precipitation. And there's a closer look at that D0. And a reminder, D0 is not drought. It's just abnormally dry. It's saying, hey, things are getting a little dry. And think of it as like a drought watch. If we stay dry, drought could develop in that area. But again, it's something that bears watching, but not too concerning at this time, especially with how much scattered precipitation we've been seeing over the past month or so. Eventually they should get some if this pattern continues. And there's just the change week. Again, you can see Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas, all over the past 4 weeks have seen some little 1-class degradations up here. And just a closer look again for Kentucky. Ag impacts. Despite it being a very hot July, ag's doing pretty good. A lot of the damage to ag happened earlier in the year when it was just too wet to plant, or fields got flooded after they were planted. But if we look at progress, corn running at about normal for the past. Silking is at 84%. Average is 84 for the past 5 years, 89%. So a little behind, but when you look at doughing, the dough stage, it is actually ahead of schedule and pretty much on schedule for the dent. And soybeans are just slightly ahead of schedule, are normal. So in terms of timing, things are doing pretty good. If you look over on the right, crop conditions, a lot of corn, soybean, and pasture all sitting in that good fair category. Pastures actually got 16% in the excellent category. So that's good to see, especially considering pastures have taken a beating the past few years from the droughts, a couple droughts and those fall droughts and stuff. So good to see that doing good. But overall, crops are doing pretty good. Again, benefiting from that rain, and it was kind of weird to see driving past cornfields a few weeks ago when it was 90 degrees out and hot, and the corn not twisting or turning at all. No stress. So normally when you see it get hot, you see the corn start stressing out, and just so much water in the soil that it was able to handle that the high heat. July storm reports, not a super active month for storms. You see a lot of those. A lot of those symbols are showing flash flooding. We did have with the slow moving heavy storms producing a lot of rain. But really, the big area with wind damage was out there in west central Kentucky. Just they had a complex of storms come through it. It had some wind to it, but a lot of these small pop-up storms, they unless you get a microburst coming down from the storm collapse, and they don't produce a ton of wind, but they do produce a ton of lightning and a ton of rainfall, which can lead to flash flooding. So now looking ahead, this is the QPF the next 7 days. Not showing a ton of rain over our area. Really, the main systems are going to be down to our south and up to our north. But again, it's showing probably going to be getting that scattered precipitation, especially as we get into early next week. Looking at ENSO, we are neutral right now. And as we move into fall, it's about 50% chance that we go into La Nina, 45% chance that we stay neutral. So kind of could go either way right now. I'm sure as we move into fall, they'll get a better handle of which way it's going to go this year. The tropics are a big thing for us this time of year. As we get into fall, that's usually where we get a lot of our precipitation from. Gulf storms coming out, especially coming out of the Gulf. And the tropics have been just unbelievably quiet this year until now. They are starting to wake up. You see, we have Tropical Storm Dexter, which is out in the North Atlantic right now, and two areas that the National Hurricane Center are watching. Both of these do not look like they are going to impact the United States. They're just going to go out and bother the fish. But it's a sign that the things are starting to get going, and I know the models are starting to show a big storm forming in the Gulf. The mid late August. Obviously, that's just kind of eye candy at this moment. But it kind of shows that the pattern's setting up for storms to really start forming in that area. So something we'll have to keep an eye on over the next month or two, as we are in peak tropical storm system or peak tropical storm season. So 6 to 10 day outlooks. You can see temperature wise, it's looking like we are going to be warm. Nothing we haven't been dealing with recently. Also, just a slightly above normal chances for above normal precipitation. So, and again, probably and looking at scattered storms across most of the eastern and central U.S. If we go out to the 8 to 14 day outlook again, pretty strong signal for it being above normal temperatures. And again, there's still that band of higher than normal chances for above normal precipitation, but just slightly. So, but we'll continue taking the rain. Looking at August, really for the month there, we're Eastern Kentucky's in that slight risk for above normal temperatures, where Western Kentucky's kind of equal chances. So they're kind of expecting the middle of the U.S. They're really not a strong signal whether it's going to be above normal or below normal temperatures there. Pretty strong signal that the Four Corners is that area of the U.S. is going to be hot or above normal. It's always hot out there, but even hotter than normal. In terms of precipitation, the bullseye is on the southeast, especially Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, but that extends up at less for a lesser probability up into Kentucky. So fingers crossed that holds true, and we have some at least normal to slightly above normal precipitation for August. And the seasonal outlook, again, really the whole country warm. The highest percentages of that happening up in the Northeast and also out west. And again, that keeping us in the green in terms of the precipitation, especially in higher amounts again in the Southeast. And then for the drought, in terms of drought, the outlook for the next month is not showing any development of drought in Kentucky or really much of the Southeast at all. Again, with the above normal precipitation chances, really not much of a chance of anything developing. Like I said, we do have Z0. It's something that we'll need to keep watching, but in terms of large scale drought, probably not happening this month. Significant wildfire potential. Again, nothing in Kentucky or even in the eastern United States. But out west, obviously, they've been already dealing with a lot of fires out there, and it looks like that's going to continue for the month of August. So, in recap, July was hot and humid month with above normal temperatures and precipitation. The hit or miss pattern of the storms kind of resulted in minor flash flooding in areas while also creating pockets of dryness in other areas. And there is a small area of abnormally dry conditions in south central Kentucky, but we're not expecting any widespread drought development during August. And so is currently neutral and kind of a 50-50 shot on whether it's going to be La Nina or neutral come this winter. And the Climate Prediction Center is forecasting slightly increased chances for above normal precipitation in August, with equal to slightly increased chances of above normal precipitation for the really the summer, end of the summer going into fall. So that is all that I have today. Again, our next scheduled webinar will be September 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Between now and then, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Jerry Brodsky at WKU or Matt Dixon at the UK Ag Weather Center. So I'll open it up for any questions anyone has.
Yeah, thanks, Chip. I guess it's comforting to know that this July was in the top 5 warmest, as hot as it was.
I would have been worried if it was.
And I guess down here, I was a little surprised that the July rainfall totals were so high, statewide, because we've been pretty dry down here in Bowling Green. But it's been hit or miss too, because you can see the rain off at the distance and not at your house.
At my house, it was to the point where my grass was turning brown, and was watering the garden. And if it had rained, every direction within a mile of my house had gotten significant rain, and I was just in that little area where it just didn't want to rain. And it rained 2 days ago. We had a storm just park itself over my house. It rained again, big rain last night, and it looks like it's been raining there again right now. So kind of flipped the switch and went from dry to wet. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast right now with the way these storms behave. And so it makes it really hard to try to do drought monitoring, because some of these pockets are just so small that they can't show, they don't show up on anything, and you really can't draw little these zero circles over somebody, it's just my house that's that's in drought right now.
And you kind of see that in the drought monitor, right? For this week,
Yeah.
because you see these little patches all across the Midwest. We were getting a lot of reports of folks asking us if our rain gauges were acting properly because, the rain gauge was different from what they experienced at their house. And so we actually put out a little flyer that kind of explains convective rainfall and how you get that in the summer. And it's,
Yeah, I think those two Fayette County gauges show that pretty well.
well, that's right.
Like I said, that when I got on here, that the gauge in Southern Fayette County already was at like 1.85 inches for the day, and it was still raining over there.
Hmm.
And then every other gauge in the state was at 0.
I
Yeah.
believe Spindletop and the one gauge you're referring to on the southwest side, I think they're 11 miles apart, almost exactly. But yeah, still, as far as like a north-south, that spread is much less.
Anybody else?
Well, yeah. Well, Chip, thanks for hanging in there with the start that we had today. Apologies to everybody for that. I was just letting everybody in, so and then I let a nefarious person in. That
At least it
um,
happened early.
well, that's true. That's true. So we may have a password of some kind, and I'll send out with an email from now on. That may be a lesson learned. But any other questions, thoughts? All right. Well, thanks again, Chip, and we'll see everybody here next month. Yeah, September 4th. I think it may
Yep.
be my turn, Chip. Do you know? I think I'm up
We
next, maybe.
we messed it all up, so I guess
Yeah, yeah.
whoever wants.
So we'll have somebody. Yeah, we'll have somebody next month. So, well, thank you all, and apologies again on that start, but thanks for hanging in there, and we'll see you next month. Yep. Thanks, Chip.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.